for the little bit of a delay. So 1 more minute and we will begin. Didn't quite tell how many people we have. Okay, cool.
Five so far.
Pardon?
25 persons so far.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm having a hard time seeing how many people are on, but right. So it is 7:10. Good evening, good evening, good evening again, as I say. I'd like to start this webinar and I would like to invite Diana Jordan from Melvin Jones Fellow, and she is the Region 3 Associate Chairperson for Cancer Awareness, and she will do the invocation. Diana.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come humbly before you, thanking you for your love for lives as we seek your divine grace. Bless the less fortunate in our community. You are the great physician. Let your healing powers flow in the lives of those who need healing and are in pain. We acknowledge that we are unworthy of your love and your mercy, but we are grateful of your grace. Truly, we ask your guidance in this cancer awareness webinar this evening. Grant us the knowledge and the strength to overcome any challenges, the wisdom to make righteous choices, and the courage to preserve in the times of adversary. Forgive us, lead us to the path of righteousness, and may your grace be a beacon of hope shining brightly in our lives, and may it overflow and touch other lives. All these mercies I ask in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Diana. So, as on our agenda, I won't sure I'll just continue as we go along. Land District Governor, Dr. Carla Goddard, Progressive Melvin Jones Fellow, our guest speaker, Ms. Sandra Samuels, and to all of our distinguished Leos, guests, Lions in the audience, a very, very good evening. I'm Dr. Peter Gay Chang, Melvin Jones Fellow, and I am the Region 1 and 4 Cancer Awareness Associate Chairperson. So I would like to welcome you all for taking the time out to join our webinar this evening. It is hoped that by the end of it, you would have heard testimonials, you would have heard talks from persons who have been survivors of breast cancer. And you can even share your stories. And I hope that at the end of all of this, we will be able to see how we as Lions can further help those who are both suffering from this disease as well as their families. So moving straight, I would like to invite our Land District Governor to bring his greetings.
Thank you very much, Land Moderator Peter Gay, distinguished Land leaders and Leo leaders in the audience, our guest speaker, Ms. Sandra Samuels, distinguished Lions, Leos, guests, and invited partners in this audience. Good evening. Indeed, it is my pleasure as District Governor to bring you greetings to commemorate and kick off this webinar. We recognize October being Breast Cancer Month, as well as other awareness of chronic diseases, and it's closely followed in November by diabetes, which you all know is very close to my heart. So as we celebrate these two major life-changing disorders, we pause right now to reflect on breast cancer and the amount of impact it has had amongst the women among us. And we know that it doesn't only affect women, and that's why we want to make it more publicized that men are also affected by breast cancer. So in this audience, we hope to disseminate that powerful news that cancer may be here, but we'll do our best to make it not be here in the future as we collectively bring our efforts to show we can survive this, we can beat this. So collectively, let us disseminate as much knowledge we know about breast cancer and promote its awareness, but more so, keep our hands in the pot as we stir it up to find the cure for breast cancer and most of the chronic diseases that inflict their lives within our nations. In Lionism, it is our motto that we serve, and in so doing, we recognize in our great tenets of vision, hunger, childhood cancer, diabetes, and the environment, that we have major tenets to fight. And if every one of us can play a part in this great battle against these travesties to the world, then we can do our part. And it's part of my motto that says, I am because who we are, which says to us that we have our forefathers to thank for where we are at. And if we can continue this wave to push forward, we can surmount and beat all things that come across the pride. I'm Peter Gay. Thank you for giving me the chance to bring greetings. I look forward to Ms. Samuel's wonderful discourse and as we have some fun this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Land District Governor, and we are pleased to have you. Thank you so very much. I am not certain if Land Sharon is on. She is our chairperson for cancer awareness. Land Sharon? All right. If she is not on, she had a prior engagement, so I know she said she would have been a little late. So what I will do is forego her part and I will come back to her. So I will instead go and move into the introduction of our most illustrious speaker for today. Miss Sandra Samuels is a beauty therapist and, most importantly, an entrepreneur. The CEO of 28-year-old Totally Male Limited and the only business in the Caribbean that caters to the aesthetics and grooming needs of men only, catered to by women. A graduate of Queen's High School and Immaculate Conception, Commercial Studies, and the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. She started her career in customer service at the National Water Commission in 1982. She then moved on to Industrial Gases Limited, where she spent 3 years in customer service. In 1986, she realized her dream of becoming a flight attendant with Air Jamaica, which lasted 9 years, where she honed her customer service skills. She was made redundant in 1994, but which now offered her the grand opportunity to open her own business. Armed with practical skills along with certification received from UWI, UTEC, the Face Place, School of Aesthetics, University of New Orleans, a master's in business administration, and her life training, she has conducted grooming courses and motivational talks for several institutions, including service clubs, BNS, RBTT, Pulse, UWI, UTEC, LOJ, Office of the Prime Minister, Sagicor's yearly retreat, and has even been invited to present at the Reach to Recovery International Conference in Beijing, China, on the theme Thriving After Breast Cancer. Think about that. All this work, this woman has a wealth of knowledge. As an employer of almost 3 decades, Sandra is well equipped, and well versed in the knowledge of customer service, grooming requirements, and employee needs. She's an advocate for breast cancer early detection since 1999, and she's a 22-year survivor of the disease. She spends her time counseling new diagnosed people and give talks whenever needed, bringing awareness to and hope to cope with this deadly disease. Sandra is a Justice of the Peace, President of the Jamaica Reach to Recovery, past President of the Rotary Club of St. Andrew North. She's a member of the Management Committee of the Hart College Beauty Services. She won the Jamaica leg and went on to be one of 3 winners of the Caribbean in the Pioneers of Prosperity Awards Caribbean region, where she topped 580 entrants. She is the 2009 winner of the NCB Nation Builders Award in the area of women business owners. Totally Male also won the Jamaica Observer Award Spa of the Year for Men 2011 and 2014, the Jamaica Observer Award Best Spot for Hair Care. She also finds time to exercise, go to church, and socialize, as she believes strongly that life is all about balance. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Miss Sandra Samuels. Samuels, you're muted.
Yes, I'm so accustomed to being compliant in these groups now. Keep on forgetting to turn on my mic. Good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry that everyone don't see it fit to show me their faces this evening. I'm speaking to only names. That's why I really prefer to do in person, because I like reaching out and touching. Oh, thank you so much for persons who have turned on their cameras. I appreciate that. So thank you so much for having me. I'm trying to remember if I've ever spoken to a Lions group. I believe I may have, but this is a nice international group. So I really feel privileged to join you this evening. Now, what I am bringing this evening is a little bit about what my work at Jamaica Reach to Recovery, as well as my journey as a survivor of 23 years, and my excuse me, my vice president has joined me. She's online, Eugenie French, and I will introduce her when I am finished, because she's also here to share her story as well. So I am the current president of Jamaica Reach to Recovery, and who we are a group of breast cancer survivors. The group is 46 years old, and we are about 120 strong in membership. And what we do essentially is we do counseling of newly diagnosed and persons who are currently going through breast cancer, as well as we offer financial assistance to persons up to 100,000 Jamaican dollars. Now, this does, as you know, that this does not go off very far away, because the dollar is 155 to 1, and most things are priced in US dollars. So you know that $100,000 is not a lot of money. But we have our major fundraiser, which we're having on Sunday, which is dubbed the ICWI Jamaica Reach to Recovery Pink Run. Our aim this year is to raise $10 million. And I am almost sure we have surpassed it, because we had to shut down our registration because it was oversubscribed. So that's a good problem to have. And so I am giving thanks for the work that we are able to do through Jamaica Reach to Recovery. Now, what do we do with this money? This $100,000 is not paid to the individual. It is paid to whatever business place that they're doing business with. So whether it's the doctor or the pharmacy or wherever they're buying the medication from, we pay that fee directly to the recipient, the payee. And so we do that because of transparency, because many persons that come to us have real needs. I mean, needs like food. And so we have to make sure that we control how the persons, the individuals spend this money. It has to be as transparent as possible. So we give, this is how we disseminate the funds. So if you come in and you get just maybe one item and you have a balance of the 100,000 left, if something else comes up, you can always draw down on the balance of the 100,000. So we in Jamaica, we have 14 parishes, and that's how the country is divided. And so I am a Rotarian, and so when I came in, I just recently turned president in February. And so what my plan was to do was to offer mammograms, because mammograms are not easily accessible in many areas. And our main thrust is early detection. That's our main message. Early detection is the key to saving lives. So what we wanted to do was to use some of the money that we had and go into the various different parishes and offer free mammograms to individuals. However, I had to quickly change my plan because 3 of the parishes had no mammography machine. Most of the parishes had only one. And so it would not have worked efficiently. And so I had to now change my focus to, I'm looking at a little blurred. Are you seeing me clearly? A little blurred.
You are a little blurry, so maybe a camera just needs to clean.
Clean out, just a moment. Let me just. That better?
It is.
Okay. All right. So yes. All right. A little blurry. Okay. Yes. So I had to change my focus to doing advocacy instead. And in doing that, a lot of things were unearthed. So in many of the meetings that I've had, because I've sought to engage the government, because when I saw the situation, I had to have a conversation with them. And so my main focus right now is advocacy to get persons access to screening, and also to see how best we can reduce the cost. We recently had to have 2 public mammography machines, which will go a far way when they're up and running. I also realized that in the Caribbean, because I understand it's not unique to us, there's a shortage of radiologists that read mammograms. So that is a challenge for us, as many of the persons who are radiologists now are overworked and stretched to the max. So it is a long road, because everything is expensive, from chemotherapy, radiotherapy, screening, even a needle biopsy is like 65,000 Jamaican dollars. That might not sound a lot to many people, but for a lot of persons in the rural areas, they are not working. They have no access to funds. They are uninsured, and the list goes on. They have families that they have to take care of. And so it is really challenging to fight breast cancer as a nation. We have discovered, well, I have discovered that our incidence of breast cancer in Jamaica is like 1 in 15. Persons are turning up late stage, between stage 3 and stage 4, which is absolutely untenable, because if any cancer you can survive is breast cancer if you catch it early. Stage 0 and stage 1 is usually cheaper to fight if you catch it early, and also survivable up to about 90+%. You have a 90+% chance of survival if you catch it early. So we are really pushing early detection, but it's as I said before, an uphill battle, because if you don't have access to screening, how are you going to find out that you have breast cancer at the early stage? So I'm literally beating the streets now, trying to see how best we can engage corporate Jamaica to get funding to try our best to even get a mobile mammography machine, because 3 of the parishes have no mammography machine at all. So we're looking now to see if we can get a mobile mammography machine, which is extremely expensive, but at least when you have it, you can park it for weeks at a time in various different areas around the island. And as you know, Jamaica is small, so that's not difficult to do. So that's where my headspace is at, and that's what we are planning to do. Treatment in Jamaica, for example, chemotherapy, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, insurance is extremely important, especially the insurance, critical care insurance, so that as soon as you are diagnosed, it kicks in. We are advocating for that for persons out there who are working and who can afford it. Radiotherapy, if you choose to go private, well, I can't say choose, because the public system is overwhelmed. So I use my words carefully when I say choose. Going private to do radiotherapy is starting at about $2.5 million. And so that is like out of the reach of most. So just looking at the landscape can be very frustrating at times, but I am up to the task and I have a good team, and we are planning to work assiduously to do what we have to do. Now, my journey, in essence, I was 35 when I was diagnosed, which was 23 years ago. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and I had to do, well, my lump was not found by a mammogram. My lump was in the 12 o'clock position in the chest wall. I found it myself, and I found it because I was doing my self-breast examination every month, because I had found a lump 9 years prior, which was benign. So I was in the habit of checking my breasts, but this particular time, I was just resting my hand on my chest and I found an area of thickness. So I normally say to whichever group I'm speaking to, it's not always a lump. It can be a hump and it can be a bump. And so it was actually like a hump in my chest wall. So when I felt that hump and I checked the other side and it was not the same, I went to the doctor. Doctor did a self-breast examination, breast examination. He felt the area, so he asked me to go and get screened. Went and did the mammogram. Of course, the mammogram would have come back clean because it was not in the fatty part of my breast. We followed up with a needle biopsy, not a needle biopsy, an ultrasound, which found the area of mass. And with finding the area of mass, now I was then asked to do a needle biopsy, which confirmed breast cancer. I did a partial radical mastectomy, which is the total removal of my left breast, leaving the muscle and just skin. There's no fat there at all, or no skin. So the skin is taut across the chest. I did not choose to do radiotherapy, and not radiotherapy, sorry, reconstruction. And so I currently, for balance, wear a prosthesis, which is one of the things that we supply at Jamaica Reach to Recovery. We do prosthesis, which is a breast form that looks and feels like a breast. And we also supply bras, swimsuits. We're soon to provide gym wear. And I did 16 treatments of radiotherapy and 4 treatments of chemotherapy. And I am living cancer-free from 2000 but from 1999 until now. Now, once I passed the worst, my question to myself was, what do I do now with this information? Because when I was diagnosed, not much was being spoken about breast cancer. As a business person and someone I used to be with the airline, I am well known here. So I decided to use the fact that I was known to spread the word. So I started to go public. Anybody who was willing to interview me or to listen, the papers, the newspaper, the radio, television, I tried my best and continue to do, getting the word out there on early detection, because I know definitely that that was what saved my life. Because although I went in relatively early, I was still staged at a stage 2. And why I was diagnosed as a stage 2, there was spread to underneath my arm. So I had to do an axillary clearance. So I removed 14 of my lymph nodes, and 4 of the lymph nodes were positive for cancer. So I knew right away that I had to do radiotherapy and chemotherapy. I chose to do my treatment first because I wanted to ensure that nothing delayed my treatment. And so after doing my treatment, I was no longer able to do reconstruction because I had to radiate the area as well as my chest wall as well as underneath the arm. So that eliminated my chances for doing reconstruction. So that's why I could have done it later on in life, but it's just neither here nor there now. To spend hours to go and do reconstruction now, it's not a priority for me. My priority is living and living well. And so I also would like to speak to this wonderful group about eating healthy, being very proactive about your lifestyle. It requires a lifestyle change. Although, let me declare that doctor says it does not eliminate you from still being diagnosed with breast cancer. You're at high risk just by being a woman. That they say just that plainly. But my thing is, because I was in pretty good health otherwise, I was able to fight to accept the treatment without being extremely ill. Going through chemotherapy was not easy, but it was manageable because I was in very good health. I was at the gym quite regularly. Being obese also puts you at high risk. One of the other things that put you at high risk is if you have it in your first generation family, which like mother, sister, aunt, grandmother, that puts you at very high risk of breast cancer. The challenges of treatment or post-treatment or what you go through treatment, things like you lose your hair. I lost all my hair, my eyelashes, my eyebrow. Anywhere that hair grew, it was bald. But as soon as treatment finishes, your hair starts growing back. Well, as a matter of fact, it goes through the process. But I got up every day. I didn't wear a wig. I didn't choose to wear one because I found them quite itchy because my head was bald. And so I rocked my bald head throughout my entire treatment. And so I got up every morning and shaved my head, because what I found was that when the little straggler hairs were there, you looked unwell. So I just made it into a hairstyle, wore my big loops. I'm not a makeup person really, but I wore makeup during that period to just kind of try to look as normal as possible. So it was a manageable journey for me, but having survived, I am extremely grateful. It changed my life, I would say, for the better, because before that I was a workaholic, wouldn't take vacations, did not take many breaks, because as an entrepreneur, you tend to want to, and I was early in my business. It was in the first 5 years of my business that I was afflicted with breast cancer. And so I kept working. But that changed after I realized that I could have passed and left the business. So I had to reprioritize my life, which I encourage you to do the same, and live a life of balance, because it is extremely urgent and important for you to manage your health. Your health is your wealth. And when you look at it, I mean, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow may never come. So all you have really is today. So you need to live in the moment, spend time with your family, spend time to smell the roses, and do what you enjoy. You know, do whatever you have chosen to do in your profession, make sure it's something that you absolutely love, so that there are no regrets if anything like this should happen. Persons who should be doing a mammogram at this time, they usually recommend, well, I heard recently that they dropped the age to about 35, but it's usually at 40 that they say that you need to do a mammogram. But prior to 40, we ask that you do a self-breast examination, and what that is really is going around the breast, preferably in the shower, when you're nice and soapy and the skin is nice and smooth, in a circular motion, pressing and rotating the hand right around, going around the nipple to see if there are any lumps in the breast, squeezing the nipple to see if there's any unusual fluid flowing from the nipple, a bloody discharge, or anything that looks unusual. Many persons have found out that they have breast cancer during pregnancy, and that's because breast cancer is driven by estrogen. And as you know, in the pregnancy state, estrogen is running wild in the body. Now, many persons don't realize that very young people are getting this disease. If you're not close to it, you probably don't realize. We have many persons in the group in their 20s. Our youngest member had her first lump out at 13. It was benign. It came back. She had breast cancer at 16. Praise be to God, she's now 46. She had 2 children later, and she's living well. And so that's why we have to advocate for early screening. We have to advocate for early detection. And we need to spread the word that you need to know your body. No one told me that I should have been checking underneath my arm for standing nodes or things like that. No one told me that. So when my doctor said to me, "You didn't feel these lumps?" I said, no, because I wasn't checking for it. And they weren't, unless I pressed deep into my underarm, I would not have felt them. And so it is important that you know your body. let me say a little 2 words to the men on the platform. Men also get breast cancer. They do have breast tissue. However, it is not as frequent as the women. So men also need to know their bodies, to know if there are any changes in their bodies. So you have to also be aware. In Jamaica, breast cancer is the #1 cancer killer. Putting uterine cancer, cervical cancer, colon cancer together, the numbers, breast cancer still surpasses those 3 put together. 7% of our population of women are affected by breast cancer. I know there is no research per se that is saying what is causing it. And I've been to 2 seminars overseas, and it seems that Jamaica is one of those places, because it's not like that many places, where younger women are having breast cancer. So that is something that we also have to perhaps advocate, to start doing some research to find out what it is, whether it's the food or whatever it is that we're doing that is making us present early with breast cancer. Some of the other high risks are if you have no children, or if you have children late in life, if you didn't breastfeed, if you're obese. Certain jobs certainly expose you to breast cancer using a lot of chemicals. If you have, as I said, 1st-generation family of breast cancer, or other cancers for that matter. And so this is one of the reasons why we can't just sit down and do nothing. We have to be out there educating, because although there's a sea of pink on the roads everywhere, every business place, every airline, everywhere, there's a sea of pink. However, it's not computing to persons going out and doing their mammograms. We want to encourage, not only to support, not only to wear pink, but to go out and have yourself screened. Younger persons, do your self-breast examination. If you do find a lump, please be very proactive about it. Act quickly. Cancer, any cancer, not just breast cancer, is time sensitive. You can have a pea today, and by next week it's a melon. It all depends on the person's situation. Everybody's case is different. Some cancers are slow growing, some cancers are fast growing. It all depends on the individual. Jamaica has access to testing for the BRCA gene. Many persons might be familiar with Angelina Jolie. The BRCA gene is what runs in the family. If you're found positive for the gene, they say that the likelihood of you getting breast cancer is not a if, but a when. And so, like Angelina Jolie, you can be proactive and remove. It's a tough decision to remove breasts that are not infected or affected just yet, but she chose to do that. Clearly, somebody in her family, a close member, clearly had breast cancer, why she would have even thought to be tested. And so there are things out there that you can do, but you have to educate yourself, be very proactive, and just really you have to have a sisterhood. Tag a sister. When last you do a mammogram? We have to be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. I, really harass my friends to ensure because two of my friends have died, and I've had 3 friends that have had breast cancer. So I'm an advocate, a true advocate of breast cancer. But I can assure you, as much as I have survived 23 years, I've lived an amazing life, and surviving what I would call a critical illness truly changes your perspective on life. And I'm sure there are some very young people, well, whether young at heart or young in age. I just want to touch a little bit about mental health before I hand over to you, Jenny. Breast cancer affects what we consider to be our sexual organs. Your image gets hit, your confidence gets hit. And so I encourage persons who have been through any challenge like this to get some psychological assistance, help. Because even myself, I didn't think that I was affected badly, because I just did what I had to do and I just moved on with my life. But like 10 years later, I was triggered by something, and I realized that I was not my 100% self. And so I sought counseling and kind of balanced back my headspace. And so many of us go through challenges thinking that we can do it by ourselves. And that's a misnomer. Many times you need help. And you need to actively, as I said before, participate in your well-being. It's not the job of the doctor. It's not the job of your husband. It is your job to ensure that you give yourself the best chance ever in survival. They always talk about the survival of the fittest. That is real talk, right? Your sexuality being hit is real for young people of dating age, and even married women who may feel that their husbands might have an issue with their new norm. I just need to say a few words on that. At that stage of your life, it's really about you. You can't put anybody in front of you but you at this time. You need to prioritize self, because the focus is on surviving and thriving. I say this to say I have counseled women, or well, one for me in particular. I've heard of others that chose not to remove the breast because her husband was a personal trainer and she felt strongly that he would no longer be attracted to her if she removed her breast. I was called in. She was actually a teacher, because we may think that it's a lack of education. No, it was not. She took that decision. And of course, she paid the ultimate price with her life. So I really have to mention it, because sometimes in an effort to please others, we don't think about ourselves. I always say one cannot pour from an empty vessel. So if you don't love yourself first, there's nothing to give. Like the principle of being on an aircraft and the cabin being depressurized. You pull your mask first, and you put it on your face first before you pass out, before you can help anybody else. It's the same with life. Look after number one first, and then you have enough to give to others. So with that said, I want to hand over, before any questions, just hand over to Mrs. Eugenie French. She is a teacher of, it's, what do you call it in your classroom now?
Religious education.
Religious education. And she is, as I said before, my vice president and also a survivor, but she'll tell you her story herself.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and good night, everyone. I am very delighted to be here to share my story along with Sandra, and I really want to thank the Lions Club for inviting us and for doing your part in making a contribution. This is your contribution to spreading the awareness of cancer, specifically breast cancer. So, yes, my journey started in 2003. And one day I was just relaxing at home, and, you know, my hand just went on my chest area, and I just started to rub my hand against my body, you know, on my breast and so on. And I felt a thickening right on the top of my right breast. It was long, you know, vertical in shape. And I said, oh my God, you know, something is happening here. It was hard, it was rooted to the area. And I started to move my hand around to the other parts of that same breast, and I did not feel what I felt on the top. I did the same over the other side, and, you know, the usual feeling and contour of my breast was intact. And so I came back to this side and I said, no, man, something is here. And so I didn't say anything to anyone, but I got up next day and I went to the Jamaica Cancer Society, and I got a clinical exam, and the nurse said that she felt the same thing, and she referred me to the doctor. So the next day, a doctor was on call and he was coming in the next day. So I went in and he asked me some questions that made me realize that something was wrong. And one of the questions was, do you have insurance? And I said, no, I did not have insurance. I was not working at the time. I was a full-time student. I was doing my bachelor's in theology at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. And, you know, I was not expecting another hurdle. I've had a painful childhood, and I was going through some challenges at the time. And the last thing I wanted was an interruption to what I felt was a good turning point in my life. And, you know, so when I felt the thickening, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, I have 2 aunts that died from the disease. And so, you know, as Sandra shared, you know, one of the ways in which, you know, you can come down with the disease is if you have a history. So I had a history, and that came first to mind readily. So it was urgent for me to go and to ensure that, you know, open that what I felt was not, you know, that thing that I feared. But as it turned out, it was not to be. So yes, I was referred to the Kingston Public Hospital. I was given a date. So that was 2003, November, thereabout. And I was a 3rd year in my studies. But I went because I really wanted to, find out what was happening to me. And the long and short of it is that I received an appointment. When I went in, the doctor said that, it would not be necessary to do a needle biopsy. They would prefer for me to do a biopsy. And so I was, I did the biopsy, which what they did was to take out a piece of the area, the lump or the thickening, and got it tested. I went back for the result. It, sadly, the doctors, he started asking me some questions that made me say, no, this news is not going to be good. He asked me about my relationship and so forth. And, and then he said, it's cancer. That day, I really felt like my world was just going around, but I had a kind of comeback, I felt a strength, and I said to myself, cancer not kill me, and so I was ready to fight back. Gloves on, I was ready to fight. So I was, given a date. March 16 was my surgery date. And when I was being examined by the attending doctor, she felt a node. So all this time, I did not have a lymph node or anything, nothing, just the thickening there. But on that day, after the biopsy, she felt a node. And so that moved me into stage 2. The doctor said that my breasts were small, and so it would not be a good decision to do a lumpectomy. So they chose to do a mastectomy, and I was right on board with them, just to remove everything based on my history. And after the surgery went well. I recovered, quick enough from the surgery, and I was placed on tamoxifen right after. And then, I got the appointment to go and meet with the oncologists, and I did, and they felt that I needed a radical treatment, which would include radiation, that one that would, remove hair everywhere, and that's what happened. Hair went everywhere. I had my hair cornrowed, and I could peel it like a banana when it started to, the hair started to be removed. And I started chemotherapy, and I took 2 bouts. So the doctor had originally said I needed 8, but I did not have the money, because at that time I had to purchase the drug and then take it into the hospital. So she recommended 8. I got 6 because I could only afford 6. And so she started me, and then at the second dose, I stopped and then moved into the radiation treatment because the appointment was set. Because she was moving fast. She said I was young, I was about 35. And she said that, the cancer was aggressive because the pathology report came back to say it was estrogen driven and that it was aggressive. So my oncologist was doing everything to ensure that I survived. So she made the appointment. So I had to cut the chemo treatment and then move on to 3 weeks of radiation and so on. And all of that time, during the treatment aspect of it, I only stopped to do the surgery, stopped from studies to do the surgery and recovered, then went back to, continue with my studies. And so what I believe that because I took the tamoxifen, then the chemo, then the radiation, my blood count fell, and it fell to concerning levels. It was very low, because what they do is you have to do a blood test before another chemo dosage. And at one point, I think it was the third chemo dosage, my blood count went very, very low. And so they had to put me on Neupogen, which is an injection that will help to increase my blood count. And I had to take several doses before it budged. But thankfully, you know, on my return to the oncologist, she said this time it shot up. So it went all the way up. And I continued on the chemo until, you know, the treatment was over. And afterwards, I was placed on, I went back to tamoxifen, and I was on tamoxifen for 5 years. So my journey has taught me many things. It has taught me that you can be resilient, you know, that there are some things that cancer cannot do. It cannot steal your faith. And my faith was very strong. I believe that my purpose was not yet fully accomplished, and that I would live. And I looked cancer in the face and I said, you are not going to kill me. It is not my time. And I am going to graduate at the projected time, you know, of graduation. And of course, I did. You know, while I was graduating June of 2004, I was all marked up for my radiation. And I really want to say that a community, a village, a family is very, very important when one experiences a diagnosis of cancer. You can't do it alone. So my batchmates, they would accompany me to my clinical examinations. You know, you have to do the tests and the different things that, you know, different visits for at different times for different things. And they were very, very supportive. Some people cook soup, tomato soup, and different things. But we all need a community of persons who will rally to the help of somebody going through this experience. And one of my batchmates, she was a nurse from Barbados, and so her accompanied me. I relied on her because she had the medical background. She was a theater nurse, and so she understood a lot of things, and she would write down some things that the doctors were saying and so forth as she was there, and she would explain certain things to me. So, you know, we need each other, and that is what helped me. Along with my faith, my community, my family, they were very supportive, my church family, and my faith in God, and my declaration that I was going to push ahead. This was another hurdle, and I was going to move ahead. So that in a nutshell is my story. Another thing of concern to me was that my children, they were very young. They were at different ages. The last child, he was in grade 1. His sister, middle child, she was in grade 3 at the primary level, and my daughter had just entered college. And so it was, for me, it was more painful to watch them, along with my husband, go through, you know, this uncertainty and this new thing that came into our lives. You know, it just walked into our lives. But I was able to encourage them, you know, as a woman, you know, you are feeling pain mentally and psychologically, but you still have to give that kind of support. And with the help of God, I was able to tell them that I am not going to die, I'm going to live, you know, and they will have their mother. So this is my story. Thank you so much for listening. And, you know, I'm available if you have questions to ask.
Thank you so very much, ladies. As I said at the beginning of this, we wanted to look at this breast cancer more from a survivor's point of sight instead of just being medical. So I'll open it up to anybody have any questions for either Ms. Samuels or Mrs. French. Anyone with any questions? Or would like to give any other?
Question.
Sure.
Both of you. What was your diet like? Did you have to change your diet, and what was it? What was the diet like?
You know, Diana, no one spoke to us. Well, let me speak for myself. No one spoke to me about that. Not one doctor spoke to me about that. What I can tell you during treatment, well, just like you, Jenny, I had a crew. My village was large and in charge. So everybody rallied around me and everybody was reading, everybody was pulling down information. When I met the person that counseled me from Reach to Recovery, that was what kind of put me on the how I was going to manage my journey. Because before I even went in to do surgery, someone came to speak to me from Jamaica Reach to Recovery. And when she sat down and she told me that she was surviving how many years and what she needs to do, and this is what she did, and it kind of made me relax and it opened up my mind. And then I started to do my own research. So when I found things like during chemo, they said you're not supposed to do any green juice, no green juice juicing, because what chemo does is to break down the cells, right? Green juice builds up your cells. So you don't want to be counterproductive. You don't want one tearing down and one building at the same time. So they recommended that I have porridge, cornmeal porridge, of course, no sugar, to kind of help the toxins to come out of your body. They also had directed me to I bought a juicer at the time, and I juiced beet and carrot every day, because the thing with chemo is that if your blood count goes down, now they have a lot of fancy medication. Back in the day, it was very limited. So if your count goes down, you're going to have to miss the next treatment. So you did all kind of things to kind of keep your blood count up so that you were able to do the very next treatment. During chemo, you're pretty much eating by memory because your mouth is sore, everything tastes like trash, you don't have any appetite, you are just feeling sick all the time. Usually after chemo, you have like about 2 days or a day and a half before either you throw up or you just feel unwell, because by that time the medication is working. So pretty much you have to stay home, get lots of rest. Coconut water was a big feature as well, because you had to be flushing toxins from your body. So coconut water was huge. Lots of water. Of course, no sugary drinks because sugar, cancer loves sugar. So, but no one to this day speaks to you on nutrition. The doctors focus on medication. Well, mine, nobody told me. I don't know what Eugenie's situation was like, but no one spoke to me about that. But I pretty much ate everything. I didn't abuse it. I ate everything in moderation. If I like, I love meat, I love rice. But now, as I get older and my body's changing, I have to cut out certain things. So now I cut out sugars, I cut out rice, I cut out breads. And when I say cut out, if I eat it once a month, it's a lot. I cut out seafood because my cholesterol is very high. So like shrimp and lobster, I've cut that down significantly. I've literally cut it out. Outside of that, lots of fruits and vegetables, not too many fruits. And one of the doctors that I spoke to, because I'm going through body changes. First of all, that medication called tamoxifen puts you in early menopause. So I was in menopause by the time I was 47. Some other survivors, when they're young, one person in particular, a very close friend of mine now in the group, she had to remove her uterus. She also had to remove her ovaries because her cancer at 30 was extremely aggressive. So for her to give herself the best chance at survival, she had to go very drastic. But in terms of diet, you just eat a healthy diet, just like what I'm recommending. Lots of fruits and vegetables. We have this whole smoothie culture has blown up in Jamaica. I don't know what it is like for the rest of the Caribbean islands, but my doctor says to me that when you eat a fruit, remember, we're still working with portions. So you're allowed, I think it was five servings. When you have like a smoothie, you not to mention the amount of servings in the smoothie, plus some people add syrup or sugar or whatever, just a sweetener of some kind. And so we have to be very careful. We might feel that it's very healthy to be having these smoothies, but sometimes these smoothies are full packed with sugar. So we have to be extremely careful. But in terms of diet, I've really ate everything, but in moderation, because I have to make sure I keep my weight down.
Thanks. Land District Governor, you had your hand up for a bit.
Moderator. Ladies, excellent presentation. Having been through your journey now and knowing what you know, we as a service organization, how do you see us playing a part to helping persons like you being aware, informing or disseminating information, but more so being truly impactful to changing the life of persons to come after you? Can you give us some words on this?
Sure. Advocacy, well, I don't know if we can as a group do advocate, but certainly awareness, because you have the network. So using your network to advocate for screening and early detection can be done through service groups for sure. Helping organizations like ours, for example, just the other day, Rush, the drug company, assisted us with some posters to be able to put in pharmacies, clinics, hospitals, various places where people gather, churches, schools, because although we have been in operation for 46 years, many doctors never heard of us, didn't know what we did. So, that kind of assistance for groups like ours, helping us in terms of marketing and getting the word out and helping persons to know about us, who helps them. Because if you don't know, you won't know where to go for help. So that is a big deal. Also, I know clubs have major projects and they can join with other clubs to purchase machines in areas that have no machines and ensure that persons have access to screening.
Thank you. But having said that, so if I may, Madam Director, persons still are not taking up screening as they should. We see it in other diseases. The screening is available, yet there's an impasse somehow. Maybe it's fear, but somehow that
Yes, the fear factor is real. So that has to also do with education. Because if you ask 10 people, 8 will tell you, I hear say the mammogram hot, you see? It hot, it painful. No, it's ignorance because unless you were in pain from before, or the person that is doing the radiographer is extremely aggressive, the mammography is a very quick process. Yes, 2 plates come together to squeeze your breast, but it's like squeeze, it's tight, it's uncomfortable. The film is taken seconds. It's not even a minute. Then it changes direction, squeeze again, so it holds it tight in place, but it's not squeezing you to pain. So the truth is, persons who are even talking about how painful mammograms are have never done a mammogram. And so they drive fear into people, and that's why people are not really moving to have the mammograms done. Another misconception, which one of the doctors or oncologists here in Jamaica said to us, was a lot of people have fear that it's a lot of radiation. She explains to us that the level of radiation that mammography uses is the same level of radiation that you'll get going on a flight. So the thing is, it's a lack of education. So that's another area that you could participate in, which we are currently lobbying the government to assist us to, because you know they always have programs on family planning, diabetes, hypertension. No, we need to get breast cancer on that list. So that's what we are currently working on now, but education is a big part, especially in a country like Jamaica, where the culture, and especially in the rural areas, they feel as if it's something them do, why them get breast cancer. Somebody over them, is a family curse. It's something stick you, is something you would do and gotta punish you, that kind of mindset. And so education is critical to the elimination or the control or the reduction of people presenting with late stage breast cancer. Because that's our reality. Stage 3 and 4, 52% of our women are coming in with late stage breast cancer.
All right, thanks so much. With the time, I think does anybody else have any other comment? I thank all for who put in the chat. I know it is a little late for some others in the other islands. So please, if there's anything, I can always give you Miss Samuel's contact if you want to talk to her about projects or we are supporting Jamaica Reach Recovery, or if it is you have ideas on your own countries as well. So before
we're open to hearing what other countries are doing.
That too.
Yes. Because just quickly, because as I said before, we have one of the biggest, one of our major challenges is a shortage of radiologists and radiographers. But someone was telling me that some of the islands send their films to India to be read. And I don't know if anybody on the platform has that experience or knows about that. But certainly we definitely may need that help in short order.
Yes, but in Barbados, we have a whole slew of radiologists, but most of our radiologists are from India as well. And there's a whole set of connection now. And the UK and a couple other places are pushing for AI. So what they're doing, they're collecting a whole compository of results and so on, the best outcomes. And they're asking the AI to read these, and then they're comparing to the same results given the physical radiologist and comparing the results. And the AI seem to have as equal results in predicting the same accuracy. So there are a lot of outsourcing of reading mammograms and various nuclear scans these days to institutions. So that seems to be the way that things will go in the future. So your own local radiologist doesn't need to be there. Once the technician can do it, you upload it and the answer pops back down.
Yeah. I don't know how far we are from that here in Jamaica.
But no, we need to build the network. We need to build that network. All right, so before we go and show a quick 2-minute video, okay, wait, hold on. I see one little question. Indulge people, 1 minute. Lion Wendy's asking, what are your thoughts on deodorant, deodorant use, which is said to cause some breast cancers? Answer that one quickly, and then we move on.
Well, I have no evidence of it. Well, persons are saying don't wear deodorant with talc or don't use powders with talc, but it's a personal choice. I don't know of. As I said, I have never been told by a doctor stop using deodorant. Put it that way. But
All right,
because one of my arm has been radiated, I neither sweat or hair doesn't grow there. So I really only have one arm to worry about in terms of perspiration. Because those cells are dead.
there's quite a bit of evidence that shows that aluminum and
Right.
in the deodorants contribute to breast or cancer cells formation. And so in some states in America, and so the use of aluminum is banned in deodorants and so on. So that's where
products, right.
Yeah. So that's where that stems from. So people try to use non-aluminum based deodorants and so on to avoid it. Avoid the risks.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that. So as I was saying before, I go into a 2-minute video that will be from Zone 3A. I would just like to quickly introduce our chairperson for cancer awareness, Lion Sharon Ephraim, Mervyn Jones Fellow. Lion Sharon, if you just want to come on, say a quick hi. And then I'll ask Lion Wendy to do the video after. Lion Sharon?
Lion District, thank you, Lion Peter. Lion District Governor, other distinguished Lions in the virtual audience, guests, Leos, my fellow Lions, good evening. I'm really elated and happy to see we have so many participants on this webinar this evening. And I'm happy to know that our guest speaker, Ms. Sandra Samuels, was able to present to us all what we should know about breast cancer. I just would like to remind persons here tonight, Lions, and our guests as well here tonight, that we, the cancer team, the district cancer team, we believe that the purpose of cancer awareness is to educate people so that their health risk can be significantly reduced to enjoy a healthy and happy life. An understanding of cancer also makes people better able to support those with the disease, as well as help people to reduce risk to potentially prevent cancers. One thing we know about cancer is that it can affect anyone, no matter the age, gender, race, or financial status. We think it is safe to say we all know someone who has walked this journey, some being a family member, a friend, a co-worker, even a fellow Lion or Leo. And that's hence the reason why we think this is so important for us to be educated, so that when we educate ourselves as to what to expect, we can help a friend, a family, a loved one, or a Lion member for that matter. So we would like you, our fellow Lions, to take heed of that. And as we put through our goals, which is to educate the nations on the importance of cancer awareness, regular doctor visits, eating the right foods, and of course, exercise, and to raise the awareness, the days, the months for the different types of cancers and the impact on the lives of those whose families are affected. We also would like you to encourage cancer survivors to give testimonies of their experience, to talk about what they went through, so that you in turn will be able to see how important it is to take your regular checkups and exercise, etc. But we also want to leave with you and to say to you that we would like you to be aware of the other cancers that are coming up, if I may say that in this virtual audience. So we have gone through the childhood cancer, and as well as the prostate cancer, as well as breast cancer, which we're doing there now. But we have lung cancer. We also have pancreatic cancer, World Pancreatic Day, cervical cancer, we also have the awareness of childhood cancer, and the awareness day is November the 16th. Kidney cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer. We have the testicular cancer and the skin cancer, among other cancers. So let's be aware of those cancers. Let us try to educate ourselves as much as possible as to what it entails. And let us try to keep the awareness days, try to be able to see how much we can have activities in our clubs and in our communities, so that persons will be educated and will be more aware of what to expect or what to do for the various types of cancer. And also to be able to understand and work with those survivors that we have, the cancer survivors. I really want to thank you. And like I said, to encourage you to continue doing your various types of cancer awarenesses in your various clubs. And we look forward to each and every one of you giving us those reports. We look forward to seeing you send the reports on My Lion, and to be able to have to be able to allow our district governor to be really proud of us when it comes to the awareness, the education when it comes to cancer awareness. I really want to thank you, and I really want to thank our guest speaker, Ms. Sandra Samuels. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Lan Sharon.
You're
Right,
welcome.
Lan Wendy, if you're able to play the video, and followed by Lan Wendy would be Lan Susanna with the vote of thanks. Lan Wendy.
Aspire, achieve. Many lions, one heart. Yes, I am, because we are shoulder to shoulder. We moving forward. Love, compassion, humanity, honor. We are our brothers keepers indeed. Disaster, illness, and people in need. Lions always taking the lead. With God's grace, we will succeed. So come together now, fight for a cause. Don't settle now. Make this world better now. Let us show you how. I am, because we are. With them on the rise, the future is bright. The seniors providing the juniors insight. Teach them the ways and then move aside. A new generation emerging, strong and determined. You can't deter them. Everyday lessons I'm learning. Success success is certain. I am because we are. I am because we are. Heart of a lion. I am because we are. I am because we are. Heart of a lion.
Thank you so very much. And Miss Samuels and Mrs. French, that is our district governor's theme song for this year. It's very catchy. We love listening to it all the time. So, Lan Suzanne.
District Governor Lion Dr. Kalai Goddard, PMJF, guest speaker, Ms. Sandra Samuels, distinguished Lions, fellow Lions, Leos, guests, good evening. On behalf of the cancer team of the District 60B, it is a great privilege to deliver the vote of thanks, and it has been such an honor to be part of this amazing webinar. Firstly, I want to say thanks to Lion Diana, who has graced us with a word of prayer this evening. I would like to extend many thanks to Lion Peter Gale Chang for the warm welcome. I have a deep sense of appreciation and thanks to the cancer team of the district for organizing a much needed webinar. Sincere thanks to our district governor for the awesome greetings that he brought us. I would like to express my thanks to Lion Sharon Ephraim, MGF, the cancer chairperson for the district, for brief remarks and the advice on breast cancer, by extension, cancer in general. Heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests, Ms. Sandra Samuels, President of the Jamaica Reach to Recovery Limited, for an enlightening and insightful presentation. I would like to say a big thank you to Mrs. French tonight, who had the courage to share her testimonies and challenges on her journey of hope. I know there are many more in the platform that had wonderful stories to share. Unfortunately, I know due to time constraint, they were not able to, but I want to say you are strong enough to fight through this. I need to say to you that you are not alone, and this is not the end of your story, because faith makes all things possible, love make all things easy, and hopes make all things work for you. Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much.
much. And I don't know if you can see this. Apologies. This is the certificate that we will have for you, Miss Samuels, and we're also doing one for Mrs. French. They will be properly printed and signed and delivered to you by the latest next week.
Okay,
Again,
thank you.
I do want to thank you and everyone here for coming this evening. And with that, ladies, gentlemen, Lion, Leos, guests, a warm and good night, great sleep, and we hope we don't all wash away for those who are experiencing a lot of rain.
Rain.
Land DG, stay dry. And everyone in Barbados, and so